So I'm only going to tell this story about 1,000,000 times if I record it. And maybe it's a good enough story to record. But where do you begin, you know? The earth, it wasn't in the beginning, it was after the beginning. The beginning was so powerful and so beautiful that it's beyond our knowledge. There's no wisdom or knowledge for us to understand the beginning. Thus we start sometime later. But the pulse of the universe started, and it was written in this one book, Genesis 1:3. And he said, "Let there be light," and there was light. What does that mean? The power of the pulse of the universe. What does that mean? Let there be light, and there was light. We look around and we wonder so often, you know, what's my place? Where do I belong? How is it that I am at this time? And those are just darn good questions. And you know, I don't have an answer for you at all. You have to find those answers out yourself. But you have to feel that you are related to all things. And how do you do that? It's a lot easier for women because they have a relationship to the earth, a pulse of the female body that comes as a reminder of the pulse and the rhythms of the planet, of our universe, of our existence. But for men it's a bit harder, you know, because we don't get that rhythm. And so a lot of times we go fasting in the mountains. And that will help us understand, you know, it's sort of like stopping your movement forward long enough for you to actually look at the world around you to see if there's a message there for you. And I have had many in my time, many messages, and I followed them all as I was told. So often, you know, people ask me to do things and I'm not sure exactly what they're about, but it ends up and it will be something later in history of my life. So I talk to you about the pulse of the universe because we are all part of the pulse of the universe. It is, you know, a statement that's made, we are all related. And we really don't understand that statement until we actually become a family or a part of a tribe or a part of an existence. Once we join in with those people, we are the tribes of the animals. Once we join with the tribes of the animals, we understand more of the gathering of energies, the gathering of people, the gathering of animals, the gatherings. And we look at the pulse of the universe as how do we become that? Where do we see it? And you know, I was in my office one day and I was looking out the window, which is normal for me. I was not a very good office guy. I was a field guy, and so I was looking out the window and I was watching the spring flood the grass, the lowlands below my office, and I could see the trash that had been put in all winter, that had been laying along the sides, and the water, we had picked up and moved the trash. And I realized, you know, that the water loves everything. It doesn't refuse anything. And it was then I realized that the pulse of the water is the filling up of the rivers, the filling up of the lakes, and then the fasting time of the lakes getting smaller and the river getting smaller and the freeze. And then as we see it again, spring comes and the river is feasting and fills up. And that's what our bodies were designed as. All of these rivers in our bodies were designed after the pulse of our planet, the Earth. Now, some people call it Mother Nature, some people call it Mother Earth, some say it's Earth our Mother. It's all of those things. It is what we are. We are what it is. From the moment of the Big Bang, the material that was sent out into the universe is the same material that you're made of. And that material has a record, or a memory, they say, and it could be, and it may need more research to this, but it could be that memory is in the DNA. I don't know that much about DNA, but maybe it is. I have hope. I have hope that we have enough memory of the beginning and all of the things between here and there to give us the compassion to work with each other and all of the animals. Not to mention the plants and the insects, all of these things on the planet. And this way of thinking I was given, when I was young, and I was told about, we're all related, we're all related. I saw people coming through my house, and we were all related. And I really didn't learn about racism as a word until I went to boarding school. I lived it as a way of life, but I didn't know it as a word until I went to boarding school. And that's where I learned it. I didn't learn it in the manner that they were prejudiced or racist at the boarding school. I learned it because the world was in one of these places we're in right now with race and difference. And we were a peaceful young youth group. This group that's going on now is not so peaceful, but be that as it may, the pulse of the universe, if the pulse of the universe decides that our Earth comes to balance, and it's too much of a struggle to keep, think about it this way. 60 billion years ago, here's all of these masses of things propelled out into the universe, and here we are floating along. Now, I have no idea what 1 million, 1 billion, 160 billion, 60 million, I don't know what, those numbers are just, don't mean anything to me, they're just numbers. What I understood is at a long time ago, according to oral history, these things were propelled into space and then they congealed. And it's taken from the moment that they congealed with all of these different masses of lands, like they say they even named them. I don't know where they came up with the names, but one of them always stands out as Pangea. And they have all these names for these things, and it's really interesting that they weren't even there. Well, anyway, it's another thing. But here's all these things moving along, and I'm talking about it, and I wasn't there either. That's terrible. It's history's left for the person who wins. But anyway, as these things congealed, there were like pockets of lubricants left in the earth to make the earth balance, and those pockets of oils or waters or different things, groundwater flow that moves through all of our water systems. Once we've tapped into those and we now have material rubbing against with no lubricants, all of this balancing of the planet is just going to go smack, and we will be open for an understanding that may have been predicted and may not have been. It doesn't really matter. As the pulse of the universe, as you as an individual, what's my part? My part is, realizing what you are. And you're a human being. There are certain things that the human being does. And there are things that we as human beings need to learn to do better. So, like I said earlier, I'm not here to give you answers. I'm giving you a point of my experiences of who told me the world was at the beginning. I don't know, I think it was my grandpa told me the world began, and sometime later, the native people came out of the earth. Now, that's how I heard it. Some of the wisdoms that you, as non-native or native people, those wisdoms that you own from your elders, they are now really very, very critical, because people will criticize you and say, oh, you didn't learn that, you read that in a book, or your grandpa was a drunk, he didn't know anything. Well, didn't listen to all of that stuff, because your grandpa was a grandpa, and sometimes he wasn't drunk, and sometimes he talked to you, and who knows what he said to you? You do. And your grandma did the same. Your grandma showed you things and gave you cookies and gave you, that's the pulse of the universe. That's love, and that's the pulse of the universe, and that's what we need to expand on. So as you go through your days and you're looking at things, and you're looking out the window and you're seeing the movement of the energies of the earth, those are very, very difficult things to understand. Even a child understands them better than an adult. So as you go through your time and you look around, realize the pulse of the universe. Realize that if you've been alive for 30 years, that's 30 pulses of the planet Earth. And when you go and you look at a tree, and that tree has been here 600 tree rings, that's 600 years. That's what he is. That tree has got more wisdom than you do. That tree has more value than you do. But as the human beings of the planet, that doesn't work. The human being always has more value than anything. And what we need to remember is that's why things go extinct, is that we forget that they are all things that are important and should be given the length of their life. Now, as the pulse of the planet and the pulse of the universe and the pulse of the energies, you look within yourself, meditate, go up on the mountain. Don't hurt yourself, but understand yourself. Be at peace, find compassion for others, and I hope you enjoyed this story.